Begin today by taking that little sheet of crescent board that should be in your portfolio of supplies and trace around it 3 times with your 2H pencil. Then label the top rectangle with the word hatching, the second one with cross hatching, and then the third one with scumbling. Begin shading your hatching rectangle with your 2H pencil. Hold the pencil further back so you're not putting too much pressure on the pencil so you don't make too much of a darker mark. Whenever you begin shading anything, you always want to start with the lightest values first and very slowly build up to the darker values next. This first layer of light values should be the lightest value gray that you can achieve, and you should shade that all the way throughout the entire rectangle. For your second layer, which I'm starting right now, it should only be 1 to 2 shades darker than the previous layer you've already shaded, because you're building up your values slowly. When you make your mark, lift up your pencil after every stroke. Do not scribble back and forth. This is a sped up drawing or a sped up video of what I was actually doing, so it looks like I'm going really, really fast, and that's just because it's sped up. But I am lifting up my pencil after every stroke. I am also making sure that my marks are made close together. Notice there are no gaps between my marks. I'm creating a solid fill. You will want to do the same. Now you can see in this next layer, I am pressing a little bit harder, but now as I start to draw to the right, I'm lifting off the pressure of my pencil so I can start getting that gradation of value. Your values should be darker on the left-hand side of this value scale and should be gradually, smoothly getting lighter as they extend to the right. Once you've finished shading in all of the dark values that you can achieve with a 2H pencil, then you can move on to your HB pencil. When you shade with the HB pencil, like we did with the 2H, you only want to shade a shade or two darker than the previous layer for every consecutive layer. As you shade to the right, you want to lift up the pressure of your pencil so the values will gradually fade out from dark to light as your eye moves from left to right within this value scale. Because we want to keep the values on the right-hand side of the value scale lighter, you do not have to shade with the HB pencil all the way to the right. I recommend only going a little bit past halfway because the HB pencil makes darker marks. So you don't want to make those really nice, beautiful light grays you achieved with the 2H to go away by going over everything with the HB. Now, once you've gone over all of the dark values with the HB, you can move on to the 2B to put the darkest values in, and then you have that smooth transition and a full range of values in your hatching value scale. You're going to repeat that same process for cross hatching. You're going to start with the 2H pencil, begin by putting in the lightest values first, and making sure that all of your marks are close to one another so there's no gaps, and making sure that you're lifting up your pencil after every stroke. When you cross hatch, I recommend that you go diagonally after you draw vertically, and then after this second layer of diagonal strokes. And notice how, once again, I'm lifting up the pressure of my pencil as I'm shading to the right. That third layer, I'm going to cross hatch in a different direction. I'm only going 1 to 2 shades darker than the previous layer, and as I shade to the right, I'm lifting up the pressure of my pencil. My marks are close together, and by lifting up the pressure of that pencil, I'm starting to put in that gradation. After going diagonally twice, go back to doing vertical strokes, and you're just going to repeat that process. Vertical strokes, 2 diagonal strokes in 2 different directions, and then back to vertical strokes again. After putting in all of the mid grays and light grays in with the 2H pencil, move on to the HB to begin putting in the middle to dark grays. Keep your pencil concentrated more to the left. Don't draw over all of these light grays that you've put in on the right, and make sure you're lifting off the pressure of that pencil as you shade to the right to get that nice smooth transition of values. After building up the mid to dark values with the HB, put those darkest blacks in with the 2B pencil, making sure you're concentrating this pencil just to the left-hand side of your value scale so you don't darken the values in the mid to right-hand side of it too much. When you're done with the HB, then you can move on to scumbling. And no surprise here, we're going to do the same thing again, starting with the 2H pencil, building our values from light to dark. Now with scumbling, you want to make sure that the lines that you're creating are very random. Scumbling is not spirals. We do not want our shading technique to look like a slinky. Everything should be very, very randomized. No two marks should look the same. So vary the size, make some small, make some a little bit bigger, but you want to keep it on to a smaller scale. You don't want these marks to be too big, but just gradually build up the values as you shade. You can see here it's already looking a little bit darker on the left. It's already looking lighter on the right. And just have fun with this one. This one won't take as much time as the others. It'll be a little bit faster because you can be more free with your strokes that you're creating with the pencil. Before you guys leave, I want to just talk about a few common mistakes. First, when you hatch, you have to lift up your pencil after every stroke and make them super close to one another. You do not want to keep your pencil on the paper the whole time and make one giant squiggly mark. You don't want to do that. For cross hatching, your line should go in both diagonal directions and then vertical. What you don't want to do is ever draw horizontal lines in your cross-hatching value scale. It's really hard to match the value perfectly as you shade from left to right. For scumbling, make your marks going in random directions. Do not have your marks look like a slinky where you're doing perfect spirals. So that's another thing that you want to avoid. If you can avoid doing the things on the right-hand side, that's great. One other thing is do not take your finger and smudge it across from left to right. I need to see a gradation of values by the pressure you're using on your pencil. And if you do happen to make any mistakes, grab that kneaded eraser, mold it to a point, and then using the same shading technique that you shaded in that value scale, erase away with a similar motion, and that will help lighten up and help any transitions where they're not, very smooth. When you're done, take a picture of your work and submit it into Schoology. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know.